Recording in progress.
Announcing the arrival of World Travelers Toastmasters Club number 079679339.
We have proven that we do not have to be in the same room to be united, to encourage each other, to succeed, and to celebrate together.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to World Travelers Toastmasters Speechcraft Week 5. I'm happy to see so many faces today. And let me start by introducing our coordinator, Zahiri. Our Speechcraft coordinator began his Toastmaster journey in 2005. He successfully navigated the Legacy program, earning the Advanced Communicator Silver ACS and Advanced Leader Bronze ALB awards. A chess master by profession, he believes that the true leadership is built upon the right strategy and mindset. Please help me welcome Advanced Communicator Silver, Advanced Leader Bronze, Mohammad Zuhairi. Take it away.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tamami. Toastmaster Tamami, your voice is too soft. I can barely hear you. And if this is how you introduce me, even my cat could do a better job than you. Good morning, good evening, and good night, fellow Toastmasters and guests. That is exactly how you are not supposed to give feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, today is week 5. Week 1 to week 4, distinguished speakers have helped our speech crafters become better speakers. From crafting impactful and inspiring speeches to using vocal variety and body language, I am confident our speech crafters have benefited greatly from all the sessions. My mentor once said to me that a great speaker not only knows how to deliver a speech, but also knows how to give positive feedback and evaluate others in a way that encourage rather than demotivate them. That is why week 5 is all about evaluation and feedback. I'm not sure if my speech will be evaluated by our distinguished speaker, but I accept any feedback and evaluation with open heart. To introduce the speaker, we have Toastmaster of the Day, who will also lead the session tonight. And for the benefit of our esteemed guests, the Toastmaster of the Day is like the MC of the event. And our MC tonight is a special lady and a member of the World Travelers Toastmasters Club. She is also the Area P1 Director of District 80. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to help me welcome our Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Yuniati.
Thank you. Warm welcome. Warm welcome. It's our important session today. So, ladies and gentlemen, the topic for tonight is upgrade your journey, evaluation, and feedback in action. For this, we have a distinguished speaker coming all the way from Singapore. Our speaker is an executive present coach by profession and was finalist at the World Championship Public Speaking in 2021. He has also won the Decade Championship in International Tabletop Speech Evaluation and numerous speech categories. He believes that the skill of evaluation has helped him become a better speaker, a better communicator, and a better leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome distinguished Toastmaster Ng Kin Fong.
All right, thank you so much for the warm welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Now, I'm really excited to be here. I get that this is a speech craft in action, and I was thinking when I was first invited for this, what level of evaluation will I need to coach everyone to get to? Because the beginner evaluators may feel, oh no, everyone is so good. How am I going to give feedback? And yet, the advanced speakers in the room will be like, this is too basic. So it's really hard coming together with ideas on how to make this effective. But I believe what I've come up with is going to be something that I can share and that everyone will benefit from. All right. So thank you. So what we'll do here is first, let's check in to see if you can see the slides. I'm going to share that right now. Aha, can be seen, right?
Yes, you can see.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes.
Fantastic. So let's just begin. Now, before we start, I also did want to ask, because again, I've got 1 hour with you, but I realize this hour would be wasted if I don't answer your questions, your concerns, or the thoughts or worries that you might have about evaluations. So let's just take maybe 20 seconds, type it down in the chat, right? Because there's 32 of you. Let's put it there and see if I can answer you quickly and immediately. Right, and I'll make sure to answer that in the course of this next 1 hour. Right, so what do you want to get out of today's session? Don't worry if you don't know whether your question is a good one, just ask anyway, because you never know who else might be wanting an answer to that question. How to be a good evaluator. Got it, Catherine? Penny, value to speakers specifically. How to add value. Got that? Yulin, I want to win the evaluation contest. Okay. Uniati, how to evaluate a perfect speech. You know, Uniati, we're going to try that later. Right? I actually have a an example for you to try evaluating. Anyone, anything else? How to evaluate without demotivating. So yeah, I suspect you're saying this from an office perspective, because I've come across so many managers and bosses who don't know how to evaluate to motivate, right? So no worries, we'll go into that as well. I'll make sure to cover that portion. Anything else, anyone? Going once? Going twice? All right, no worries if you have any questions that come up. Angela, evaluations that help members grow and to tell speakers' weakness. And yeah, it's tricky sometimes, right? How do you tell someone about their weakness if they're not ready to listen? And it's awkward. And sometimes culturally, especially in Asia, we generally don't do that. But how do you be honest? It's not so easy sometimes. So we'll go into technique a little later, okay? From Tamami, what is the most important point when evaluating? I'll answer that one now. Tamami, I think the most important point when evaluating is to provide value. That's what evaluating means, right? To provide value, right? Your value judgment. So as long as it benefits the speaker, the audience gets to learn, I think that's the most important point. And then, of course, to do it kindly, because there's no point if it's not well received. Okay, from Jasmine, I want to know how to evaluate without repeating the speech. Fantastic. I've actually got a framework for that, and we're going to cover it. All right. So quite quickly today, you'll get, let's see, 3 common mistakes giving evaluations. Now, I may have won a district contest for evaluation this year, but I sometimes make these mistakes too. And so it's a very good reminder here, especially for the seasoned Toastmasters in the room, to notice if they make some of these mistakes. Next, we're going to look at the winning formula. Now, I call it the winning formula because it's helped me win, but also because this is a formula that can be used at work, right? And I'm sure we're all here in Toastmasters not to win trophies here, but to really improve the way we communicate, especially in work and in life. And so we'll look at that formula and how you can apply that. Last but not least, questions and answers. We'll have about 20 minutes for that. Sounds good? Okay, then let's quickly move forward. So, why evaluations? Anyone? Why are you here for this workshop? You all know how to give feedback, right? I mean, if your friend asks you for advice, you tell them what you think. But why is this so important in Toastmasters?
To help members to grow and also to tell them the weakness so that they can improve next time.
Thank you, Angela. Exactly. Yeah, it's really to help everyone improve. And if we can create a culture where everyone's concerned about each other's well-being and performance and how we can do better, then things work. But it's not always so easy, right? Especially when you receive feedback that you're not prepared to receive. Ever had, someone come and tell you, hey, Ram, let me give you some feedback. And you're like, what? I didn't ask for it. And he goes on to insult you and criticize every point of the presentation you spent 2 weeks preparing. You wouldn't feel too good either, right? So Toastmasters, interestingly, has created this culture where people are ready to receive feedback. It's not always the case in the corporate world. It's not always the case with your suppliers. It's not always the case with your boss. It's not always the case with your clients. So do note the caveat here. Yes, let's learn to provide feedback in an empowering way so that things improve and there's progress. But make sure you get permission to do so first, right? Because sometimes it's just the wrong time for feedback. And you might get your head chewed off for it, all right? So be careful with that. Oh, I see from you how to do it elegantly. We'll practice and we'll see if you can do it elegantly by the end of the session, okay? So, quite simply, we evaluate to listen, especially in this day of social media. Let me just check in with you. Quick question. When you watch a video on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, how long before you decide to swipe next? Or not?
Boring. Not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So how long does it take for you to decide to swipe? I see from around 10 seconds. Anyone, anything else? Feel free
Depend
to
on
unmute.
my level of interest.
3 seconds.
30 seconds. You are so patient.
3.
Oh, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, so we get to see this, right? That when evaluations in Toastmasters was first set up, which was probably in the 1920s or something, they didn't have social media. People actually had time, attention, and patience. But the world we live in has changed. We don't have that kind of attention spans anymore. And as a result, the way people hear is different. The way we listen is also different. So this really is one of the most important skills, because when you don't listen, you miss out. And sometimes we're preoccupied with all the things we have to do, right? 30 million things in a day, that we forget to listen. And if you can't listen, you can't evaluate as well. So make sure you do more evaluations to practice your listening skills. And you want to be better at analysis and evaluation, especially now with the internet, with AI. Anytime you can ask, what's the longest bridge in the world, right? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to know it. You can search it. But making a value judgment, making an assessment on what works and what doesn't work, those are higher order thinking skills that schools sometimes fail to make their students do. And this is where we keep learning so we can make better judgment, better decisions at work, right? And last but not least, learning how to motivate and encourage. I'm sure everyone in this room is a leader, if not at work, at least in life. And there's going to be people around you who sometimes just need that encouragement to move forward. So think about how you can deliver feedback in a way that makes people say, yes, give me more, I'll try again. Because then you're creating an impact as a motivational leader. All right. So quite quickly, I did want to show this picture. And this picture is a result of, this was taken in 2021, so there's more trophies now, not enough space on the cupboard. But my point is this. Some of you may feel, yeah, but I'm not really interested in contesting. Contest is not my thing. I'm just happy to help organize. Well, let me challenge you with this. It is in a speech contest, whether it's evaluation, any contest, that you really hone your skill because the stakes are high. You feel the pressure, you feel the stress, and you feel that you really want to do better. And that's when you really, really grow. Because of that, I've taken part in every contest except for the year I was area director and the year I was getting married, right? Only 2 years I didn't take part in any contest. But as long as you keep taking part in contests, you will refine your technique, you will improve, and from your evaluation skills, you start to evaluate your own speeches and see where you can improve. And sometimes you are your worst critic, but you will also be your own best critic. And that will help you move up to get to where you need to go as a communicator, a speaker, and a leader. All right, so this is me. I'm sure all of you will get this if you keep taking part in contests. Okay?
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Hey,
Daniel, question?
is it from Singapore?
Sorry?
Is it from Singapore? I'm from
yes.
neighborhood country in Malaysia. I went to Singapore.
Fantastic. Yeah, hi Daniel. So now you can join contests in 2 districts, right? Fantastic. Okay, I'll move on. So this is what I do professionally now. Mistake number 1. What do you think mistake number 1 is? Mistakes that evaluators often make. Anyone like to guess? Feel free to unmute, shout it out, put it on the chat.
Put the blame on others.
Angela says, put the blame on others. Close, but not quite. Because the good thing, it's not you, it's me.
Okay. Repeating the story, the vocabulary, you just don't need to do that.
No, you don't have to do it, but it may be useful sometimes. In the interest of time, I think I'll move forward, right? Oh, I should have shown this first. My ears just make you sound so lame and boring, and my eyes make your face look weird. Okay, I'm sure evaluators, you don't really insult your the speakers you evaluate, but really, it's about making it about yourself. Now, I understand that when we're on stage, technically the focus is on us. But when you do a speech evaluation, is a speech about how good you look, or is it about how good the speaker looked? It's about the speaker, right? So when you have that 3.5 minutes maximum to talk about the speech, talk about the speaker and how the speaker attempted the speech, make sure that you don't make it about yourself. Make it all about the speaker. The only parts that you talk about yourself is how the speaker made you feel. Right? It's got nothing to do with creating. I remember when I was a second year in Toastmaster, I heard this evaluation. It went something like this. Your speech was so fantastic. You're like Usain Bolt. You're a record breaker. And when you run and you spoke, and he went in huge flowery language. And at the end of it, no one remembered what the speaker did. No one remembered what the speech was about. No one even remembered the feedback, although it was a very good presentation. But what did we take away? That the evaluator looks good? Is that what you really need to do as an evaluator? No, because we look good as evaluators when we make our speakers look good and we generate learning altogether. So while I understand, yes, but for contests, sometimes we have to come up with a flowery metaphor to catch the judge's attention. Well, if you're delivering value, I'm sure you will catch the judge's attention. Notice that the judge's ballot on evaluation contests has 0 points in delivery. 0. It's not about how you say it in that sense. It's not about how flowery your language is. It's about the value you're going to add to the speaker. So remember, this is what you have to do as an evaluator. Be clear that it's for them. Address the audience. Very often, I find myself addressing only the speaker. Don't forget that 3 minutes, there's other people in the room. So tell them, talk to them. For example, so what was it that Yuniati did great as a speaker? Well, Yuniati made us all feel so warm and happy, didn't she? Right? So make sure you're talking to everyone and not just to Yuniati in this case, right? Okay, any questions here? Can I move on? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll move on. Yeah. If you forget everything, add value. That's all you have to do. Add value. And you're wondering, but don't I already? Well, when you focus on adding value, you also realize that you don't get so nervous, especially if you're evaluating a champion speaker, right? I remember one of the finalist contestants, Isidro Souza, right? He was contesting with me in the final in 2021. And I was listening to his speech. I was like, oh man, his speech is so great. How am I going to give him any feedback? And I felt really lousy about it. But my coach then told me, it doesn't matter whether the speaker is better than you or not. It doesn't matter. You just give your feedback, your opinion, and try to give some value from there. That's it. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's exactly what I do. Because my coach also told me when rehearsing for contests to prepare a Google Sheet with 7 questions, all about my speech. And then I would give that Google Sheet link to the audience and they would fill in whatever they thought. Some of them were Toastmasters, some of them were not. None of them were contesting at the district level. But was their feedback useful for me? It was. So likewise, you may be a new Toastmaster, just attended Speechcraft, not so confident. That's okay. Because you are the audience and you receive the speaker's message. So consider that as long as you give your opinion there, that adds value already. Okay? All right, so I'll move on. Mistake number 2. What does this picture say?
Miss the important
Daniel?
point.
Yeah, Zuhairi's got it. Missing the point, right? Sometimes as evaluators, we forget what we're evaluating and we miss the point. What do I mean? Right? When it's all fluff and no stuff, you've missed the point of the evaluation. So consider that you want to evaluate to the objectives. I remember there was a speech evaluation I saw. It was the speaker was attempting the project on vocal variety, right? But all the evaluator did was evaluate on the speaker's body language. But that's not the objective of the project. So try to always evaluate to the objectives first, because that is the project that's being attempted. And if this were a contest, then in this case, what do you think the objectives would be? Is it all about body language? What would be the objective of a contest speech? Anyone?
Message.
Yeah, message. What else? Content. Okay, to entertain, delivery, and content. Sure. And there's a little bit more. More than that. How was the content effective? Was there a call to action?
Value.
Sorry, again?
In fact, she said value. She said value.
Value.
Yeah,
I
value.
would
Yes.
also say resonate in
Yeah.
totality.
Does it resonate? Does it impact you? So really, when we think about a speech or a presentation, the most important thing here is, what did the audience take home? Isn't it? So evaluate based on what you think could help the audience take home a stronger message with more value. Now, I remember being a new Toastmaster and I was going to many clubs and I heard many speakers do a speech that sounded something like this. Hi, everyone. Let me tell you about my trip to Bangkok. I went to Bangkok last weekend. I bought and bought and bought and bought and bought a lot of clothes, and I ate and ate and ate and ate a lot of food. And at the end of the day, it was a great trip. Thank you. Now, for most of us living in Singapore or in Bangkok, we've done that. So what's the value of the speech? So then, if I were to evaluate this speech under the recommendations, I think about how the speaker could add more value in that speech, right? I mean, none of us would like to spend 7 minutes listening to something we already know. Is there a different way you can share about your experience? Maybe instead of my shopping trip to Bangkok, could you share about how you saved money and found the real good food that the tourists don't know about? Would that be more interesting? So consider that as you evaluate, always think about what could deliver more value to the audience, right? Also, what makes the biggest difference? Does it really make a big difference here on Zoom if I'm giving this workshop like this? Or if I move here and I start talking, and then I move here and I start talking? Does this really make my workshop better, at least on Zoom? Is that the most important thing? Certainly there's more important things to talk about, isn't it? Yeah. So consider, always give what makes the biggest difference. Now you only have 2 to 3 minutes. If you can find 2 to 3 points that would make a huge difference, that's more than enough. You don't have to list 20 things, right? Consider what will get the audience to buy in to the topic. Okay, ethos, pathos, logos, that's Greek. But if I were to explain or translate it to English, this is Aristotle's persuasions, what he thought, right, all good speakers needed to have. Ethos meaning credibility. What could you do that would make you more credible talking about this subject? Pathos, feeling. What could you do to make the audience feel more about this subject? Logos, logic. What could you say to logically link up the dots for us? All right. So as long as the feedback works towards developing one of these 3 things, it's going to help increase the speaker's impact, delivery of that message, the retention ability of what the speaker just said. Okay, so always consider it from this perspective. Yeah, what can make more impact? Let me just check in. Am I making sense so far? Okay, I see some nods. That's great. Anyone have any questions, or should I move on? Okay, I see a huge floating thumbs up there, so I guess I'll move on. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to put it in there. I see Ivania says Zoom should have transcription. I believe that might be transcribed by the AI. I don't know if it's popping up right now, but okay. Let's move on. Mistake number 3. Looks like a pretty cat, right? Really? So sometimes, oh, I forgot to change the slide just now. This is what I meant by all fluff, no stuff. My apologies. Right? So make sure that as you give your feedback, it has to be specific. Please don't give feedback like, oh, your body language was very good. What do you mean by good? Your eye contact was excellent. Okay, why? Why was it excellent? Is it because I have beautiful eyes? Oh, your vocal variety was excellent. Okay, how? I don't know. It's just excellent. Now, that's not very useful for me to know, right? So be specific. What worked? Why did it work? How to apply or how it was applied. So let's see. For example, let's say, so as Tamami-san was opening the meeting, maybe I would say specifically, right? What I liked how she smiled a lot at the camera. Why was it important? Because with her huge smile, it made me feel welcome here at World Travelers. And I think the last time I was here was 4 years ago. And coming in as a stranger, seeing a big smile, it made me feel welcome. It made me feel ready to share. So how to apply it? And she smiled throughout while she was speaking. So that's how you can use a smile to engage the audience and make them feel welcome, right? So now specific about what she did, I talked about why it works, and I showed, or at least I explained how she applied it, right? So as long as you can do that, it's not fluff anymore. It's very specific, right? So there should be no more evaluations here about your body language was very good, or recommendations. You should use the stage more. How? Do you mean like if I do this for the whole training, is this good? No, right? All of you get a headache in the next 3 minutes. I would too. So be specific about how to apply it. That's how feedback should be given. Okay? Any questions so far? Anyone? None? Okay, I'm making good time. Yes, be as clear as you can. Okay, so let's see. The winning formula. What I've understood, actually, I've just shared it earlier. As long as you explain clearly what was done, why it's good, and you demonstrate or explain how. Now, earlier there was a question here on how do you evaluate without going through the speech again? All right, where was this? Yes, Jasmine said, I want to know how to evaluate without repeating the speech. Yeah, your job is not to repeat the speech, but your job is to talk about which part was good. So if let's say the feedback that you're giving is on how, let's say the speaker had very effective use of language, you don't have to read the whole speech out. Just pull out 1 or 2 sentences that the speaker used. or highlight one or two rhetorical devices that the speaker used. For example, when the speaker said, fear leads to hate, hate leads to anger, and anger leads to suffering, I could totally see how, from your fearful state, you began suffering. Right? So that's a linguistic device that made me feel the escalation and the progression of emotions. So when you demonstrate and explain, just quote that portion. That's enough. If you're giving feedback about how to use the stage better, oh, you should use the stage more, then as the evaluator, show what you mean and explain why. While you were rooted here, but there was a lot of action in your speech, I thought if you showed that you were traveling to a different country and you moved to the different side of the stage like this, it gives us a visual indication that you've shifted to a different place in your speech, in your story, right? So tell us exactly, demonstrate it, and then we'll know why it's good. Right, that's it. That's the winning formula. Simple, right? I see the heads nod. I also see some, really? Is that it? Well, that is quite it. So consider that if you have 3 minutes to do an evaluation, how do you fit it all in? Everything you want to say in 3 minutes. My recommendation here, whether for contest or otherwise, if you're not sure how to get in specific and deep, I recommend focus on 2 things that were done really well and 2 areas to improve. 2 and 2. Why? Because that's enough time for you to go deep, to explain, and to demonstrate. Any more and you risk going over time. You should already be, I was told this in my second year of Toastmasters, as you start on your first recommendation, you should see the green light come on. If you see the green light come on when you're still commending, quickly move on. Because the speaker is going to benefit more from the recommendations you can suggest. So focus on that value, okay? What are the areas you can evaluate on? I know earlier there were a lot of questions there. Most important point, you can evaluate on content, delivery, call to action, so on and so forth. I've split it into 3 parts, O, C, and D, because I'm a bit OCD. Whoops. So let's start with D, delivery, right? Was it authentic? Did the speaker feel like he was just reading off a script, or was the speaker really feeling it? What about the speaker's voice? Was it loud enough to hear? When you say vocal variety, what do you mean? Did it make it easier to hear? Were keywords emphasized? Did the way the speaker spoke land the point? Body language, were gestures appropriate? Were you shaking? Did you seem confident? And of course, word choice, that's also part of delivery. And we could go into content. Was there a clear message? I've seen many speakers, especially the really clever ones, they try to squeeze in 7 takeaways into a 7-minute speech. And then the audience gets confused. Because not all audiences have brains that move as fast as speakers, right? So consider that maybe 1 clear message with perhaps 1 or 2 sub-points would be more than enough to take away. Was it simple to understand? From a speaker's perspective, if your audience didn't understand a word you said, didn't you just waste everyone's time? And if you look at it from a HR perspective, that would be many, many, many man-hours, right? So consider, was it simple to understand? Did the speaker make it easy to understand? Did you feel the impact of that message? Was it relatable? Could you relate to the feelings? Was there an impact? Does it make you look at things differently? I know some speeches about that in fact, I was at a contest earlier today, and one of the speeches was about spending time with your loved ones. And that speech made me think about how, yes, my dad is growing older, and I do want to spend more time with him. So there was some impact there. And of course, the evidence given. I've also heard a speech where the whole story does not relate to the message at the end. The story went something like this. In school, we were always in 3 different groups and we were fighting each other. And every, recess, we would fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. But one day, we thought, what if we didn't stick to our groups? What if we tried to mix around with everyone? Maybe we'll create more harmony when we play football. And so we split up. But things got confused, and at the end, we started fighting and fighting and fighting again. So anyway, that's all the time I have for my speech. Together, we are stronger. Thank you. What? It didn't make sense, right? So sometimes when we craft a speech, yeah, I mean, we get that the story goes a certain way, and that's how you remember it. But you can tell the speaker to leave out the parts that don't support the message. And as an evaluator, if you felt that the story did not support the message, you can give the feedback that, while I enjoyed the story and I believe in your message too, I felt the story didn't quite support the message because the story was giving us a different message. So consider finding another story that would support this message you want to deliver, or maybe change the takeaway lesson to something your story can support. That way, when it's congruent, we understand logically what you mean, and you leave that impact deeper in our hearts and our minds. Make sense? Okay, let's move on to the organization. This is something we don't think about too much because we always think a speech is, opening, body, conclusion. Who doesn't know that? Oh, yes, but the way that the points are organized is sometimes not so clear. How was the flow of the speech? Did you keep getting disrupted because of the way you wrote it and you rewrote and you added a joke here, you added something there, and suddenly it felt disjointed? Was there an opening hook? Every speech has an introduction. Was it effective in grabbing your attention? Did it make you want to listen more? Was there a strong conclusion? Whether it's a call to action or otherwise, did it make you feel something? With those things in mind, I'm sure you've all seen this speech before. If not, you should listen to it in its entirety. It's the 2019 winner World Championship of Public Speaking, Aaron Beverly, An Unbelievable Story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this excerpt, and I'm going to invite all of you to use that winning formula to see if you can write down 2 things he did well and explain why. And then, if you can, find 2 areas of improvement and explain why using that winning formula. Okay? Let me play the video. If you've got pen and paper, great. If you're using computers, great. It's all good. Just make sure to take some notes. Let me start the video. So that's the excerpt. All right. I will move 2 slides back, the slide back, for you to think about what you want to evaluate. What do you think he did well? Now, clearly it's not the whole speech, but from what you could see. What's 2 things here that really stood out for you in the way that Aaron Beverly spoke? I see from within vocal variety and body language. Okay. What else? I mean, you can all find your own, right? But here's the part where I want you to explain it using the what, why, how. Would anyone like to give it a go, or do you need some time to pen your thoughts?
Can I try?
I think the word choice.
Okay, I think Zuhairi spoke first to try, right? So let's start with Zuhairi first. Go for it.
So
What,
what,
why, how?
what in my opinion is the flow of the speech. So he used I pull and I hold 3 times. That actually very interesting, and I remember from that speech. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, thank you, Zuhairi. So you talked about his flow was good because he repeated this thing again and again. Did it increase the stakes? Did it make you feel more excited? Yeah, so he let the story flow naturally with his actions as well. Okay, great.
Yes.
I think it was Angela who said word choice. Angela, would you like to share?
Yes, because I think the works he chooses to give me the shoe, repeat the message, and so that the audience remember that the clear message. And also his eyes is so bright, the body language and also the eye contact. And his dramatic gestures, just like a movie, make you feel that you are involved in his scenario.
Thank you, Angela. That's right. So, talking about the dramatic gestures, which were so dramatic, it made me feel like I was there watching it live, right? So, we talk about the impact of how the gestures did it. And as you're evaluating, if you can repeat, they pull, I pull. Now it becomes very clear. What exactly you mean by his body language was good. Cool. Anyone else like to give it a shot?
Yeah, I think that humour totally engaged the audience, brought them warmer to the story.
Use of humor that brought the audience closer to the story. Made you
Yeah, the
enjoy it
humour
more.
was relevant. It wasn't just silly. It was very, very relevant to the story, the message.
Thank you, Penny. Right, so that's what it is. What was good? Now let's look at what do you think he could do better? I know it's hard. Again, he's a world champion of public speaking. But remember, this is in your opinion, and you are the audience. And we are all going to have some different opinions about what could be done better, right? So what do you think he could have done better?
I think Aaron moved very quickly sometimes. Perhaps he could move lesser, will be much better. Of course, the body language is important, but I thought he moved sometimes very quickly, make me feel a little bit dizzy.
Okay. Now, Angela, on that note, obviously, because this is a video, maybe the switching angles would have made you dizzy. On stage, would it have been the same? Maybe it's a bit different, right? But it's a good point to bring out that movement, yes, sometimes there's too much. So, good try there. I see from Ram, bring a shoe as a prop. Ram, can you explain to us, so how would the shoe as a prop make a difference using the what, why, and how?
Thank you. So I think just bringing the shoe along will help us visualize what you're trying to retain. So in his perspective, he wants to hold on to the shoe. I don't know why he wanted to do that. So maybe us visualizing the shoe and how valuable it is may give us the reasons why it was so important to him.
Okay, thank you, Ram. So on that note, this is at an Indian wedding where he's supposed to hide the groom's shoes, right? And of course, the context here was given earlier in the video, so maybe it wasn't explained. But it's a good point. Maybe having that shoes makes it more real, right? Or having an appropriate prop could make it more real, could make us feel the gravity or the seriousness of the situation. Great. Let's see. I saw Catherine. Pauses. Catherine, could you demonstrate your feedback? Give it a go.
When he was talking to the audience, right? Like he said, don't give the shoes and all that. So he could have actually slow it down so that like the audience may be able to feel what he's actually trying to say.
Got it, right? So is there one more line you could give there to explain why saying it slower will let us feel it more? Could you demonstrate that?
How do I demonstrate? Don't give the shoes to anybody. And then pause so that the audience can digest what is it he's trying to stress.
Right, and so that would let us, or it would leave a bigger impact on the situation. Yes? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Okay, good job, everybody. So that's what evaluation really is about. As long as you can back it up, your opinion, your recommendation with some evidence, then at least the speaker knows why you came to say that. And that's important, the why. Okay, so let's move on. This was just, again, example. Note, please do not ever give an evaluation where you say your body language was good because you had a lot of gestures. That's not specific. No one likes a speaker who gives a speech like this. If I do this for 7 minutes, I have a lot of gestures, but this is not good at all, right? So make sure you explain it why. Okay, this was just an example of what you could say. Okay, so I'll move on. I think that's about the last bits before we go to Q&A. So is your evaluation good? We need to look at a few things. Firstly, was it well structured? I've heard evaluations that go, your speech was great because, but later you went there and that was not so good. But here this was really good. Oh wait, but that was not so good. It's kind of hard for the audience to digest. Wait, so what was good and what was not? So try to segment at least to what was done well, and then some areas of improvement. At the very least, draw this line for 2 things. And then it's easy for us to know when we receive which. Also, according to psychology, talk about the good things first, because people want to listen more when they've been praised. If you start with, here's what I think about your speech, I think you could have more this, you could have more that, and you're like, this person is so irritating, you know? Right? Sometimes in our minds, it's like that. That's why people talk about the sandwich. Yeah. So start with something nice, an area of improvement, and then you summarize. In summary, you're already a great speaker with these strengths. Consider these 2 recommendations. I'm sure you'll be even more powerful on stage. Done. A very simple summary statement. Okay? Make sure you explain your whys and your hows. And the third one, how does it look and taste? Now, as you speak, your evaluation is also something that people experience. So to give you a visual, right? This is what a good evaluation looks like. The picture is clear. It looks generally desirable, pleasant, and maybe you want more. This is what a bad evaluation looks like. Poor form, ugly lines, looks pretty scary. So consider as you give your evaluation, how do you want the speaker and the audience to experience your evaluation? Like the cake on the left or on the right? Your choice. Now, I'll put a caveat here. Some people say, yeah, what if there's really nothing good to say about the speaker? Generally, I start with, I applaud you for the courage to speak. That's one thing. They went up there. I commend that you came to share an idea and you did your best to give that idea despite being nervous, despite being, whatever it is, right? Or maybe you forgot your speech halfway or you didn't let your language stop you. Like, there's always good things to say from intentions. You can always start there. If you really found that there's nothing good to say, could you hear what the person said? Even that is something worth saying, right? I could hear you speak. I could hear your words clearly. That's better than a lot of people, in fact, who can't speak at all. Okay. So did we cover this? The mistakes, the formula? I think we can go to questions and answers, right? Okay. So let's check in. Any questions and answers? Yeah, feel free to, again, raise your hands. I'll call you and then, unmute and speak. Anyone? I don't see any raised hands yet. Really? No answers? Oh, come on. I'm sure there's more than that. Okay,
Yes.
Catherine. I saw your hand first. Catherine, let's go.
I always have this issue of opening the evaluation.
Yes.
So like, how do you start it? Like, okay, we know the points are, we have to look at the delivery and the content, and also we have to look at vocal variety, body gestures, and stage presence. These are the things that we look for. But like, how do we like present it? I always have that challenge. And I admire some people who can just like come up with the acronym, like for you, for instance, you use the acronym of OCD, and some people, like a triple H or something like that. So like, I always have challenges in presenting the evaluation in how do you say, in a speech form, I would say.
So on that note, I would say that don't worry about creating acronyms, because if it's not something that is a framework that always works, it's something that you will forget. Honestly, all the evaluations I've received that were given to me as an acronym, I really don't remember. The worst part is if I remember the acronym of how you looked at it, for example, I'll evaluate this by looking at OCD. O was blah, blah, blah. C was blah, blah, blah. D was blah, blah, blah. Now, the challenge is if the audience remembers OCD, but they don't remember what was the specific feedback you asked them to work on, then were you really effective?
No.
Yeah. So I would say don't worry so much about the acronym or whatever it is. Worry about the quality and the depth of analysis of your content. So if, let's say, again, maybe this is a really good speaker, there's so many good things to say. I couldn't possibly go through what, why, and how for all 10 of the good things he did, right? So what I like to do then for advanced speakers is I'll say something like, you've got the strong, you already have all the strong fundamentals of a speaker. Great vocal tonation, body language, blah, 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 blah. But the two things I felt were your superpowers today were blah and blah. And then I tell them why, how they used it. So then the focus is on those two things, not about the OCD or not about everything else that they did well, right? So this is how you can quickly summarize what was good in general and then give specific, like, wow, that was amazing. And then go into some areas of improvement. Now, I also recognize sometimes in common parlance, we like to use the word but. Oh, your vocal variety was good, but tell me, friends, when you hear the word but, it negates everything nice you said in front, right?
Mm.
Right? Wives is like when your husband says, oh, you look so pretty, but done, the evening is gone. So don't use the word but, use the word and. Your speech was already really, really enthralling, and I would love it even more if you, and just add it
Yeah.
on top, right?
Yeah, so these are the challenges for me. Like when you sort of like construct the sentence, right? So like I have the difficulty in constructing like such a smooth sentence kind of thing. So like, how can I better myself in when I'm giving evaluation?
How about this, Catherine? I remember in my year as president, my third year of Toastmasters, because I was club president, I didn't evaluate on stage at all. So what I did was every speech I listened to, I took notes. And during the break or after the meeting, I went up to the speaker to give my own 3-minute evaluation. So instead of doing one evaluation every meeting, I ended up doing 4 evaluations every meeting. That was 100 evaluations in my club alone. And I visited 2 or 3 clubs every week. So that year, I think I did 300 or 400 evaluations. And obviously, I got better.
So that means we just jot down what are the things and then explain it why.
Yes.
Why do I think?
Yes.
Like-
Because the more you do, the easier it is, the faster you will spot it. It's like doing crossword puzzles. The first few times you're like, what? But the more you do it, the better you get. Or it's like Sudoku. It's the same. So evaluation, you train that ability by evaluating all the time. And then practice delivering. So there are speakers I know who use certain frameworks in their evaluation. It doesn't matter who the speaker is, what they talked about, they will give the same introduction, they will give the same conclusion, and they just change the content in between. You could start with that if you feel that you can't find the right words. But eventually, when you trust yourself that, you know what, I'm just here to give value. It's not even about how I sound. It's about how the audience gets value. When you're clear about that, the words will come.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Anyone else? Oh no, I see a red light.
Yes.
Yes, Penny.
Yes. We as evaluators, when we introduce the speaker before they've even spoken, we're very deliberate in mentioning publicly the purpose of the delivery, whatever it is, of this exact speech. Now, many don't do that, and I always do. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, Penny, that it is not a must. I would say it's a stylistic choice, but it does help to provide context to the audience.
Yes.
So, for example, sometimes, okay, in Toastmasters, as I recall, the Competent Communicators Manual talked about having 4 general purposes for speeches:
Yes.
to inspire, to inform, to entertain, and to persuade. But some speeches, they seem to be a blend of 2 or 3 of these, right? It could be persuasive and inspiring and informative all at the same time. Then what? Would there be a point in saying your speech was informative and persuasive and everything else? Then that sort of defeats the purpose as well. Because if you're going to say everything, you might as well not say it. So perhaps if you are going to evaluate based on the angle of, okay, so this is a contest speech, therefore it's meant to be more inspiring, or you can tell the content is meant to be inspiring. Then now you can set the frame and say, for an inspiring speech, you left me feeling inspired. Let's look at the elements of your speech that made your speech so powerfully inspiring. And let's look at the areas or recommendations I have to help you become even more inspiring on a global level. So now you're using that as the touch point, the lens from which you examine your evaluation. So it helps that you say it, but honestly, I don't think there's a penalty if you don't.
No, but I feel it's important because the Toastmaster of the evening or day will always say, can the evaluator talk about the purpose of the delivery? And then, of course, the evaluator takes 30 seconds to do that. Now, that to me is fundamental to be aligned.
On that note, Penny, you're right. And it helps to show that, yes, you are giving feedback based on the objective of the speech or the project. But sometimes the projective of the object of the project doesn't need anything more than this was a project on body language and vocal variety. You accomplished both perfectly.
Yeah.
And then, so what about this body language and vocal variety was done so well? And then you can go into that. Because, again, that was the project. If they didn't, if they missed evaluating on objectives, well, sometimes you've got nothing to say. And I get that. So the more you do, the more you will pick up the knowledge and be able to comment even on that, the areas that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kin. I think we are out
Thank
of
you.
time.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yes. Can I ask Eliza to just quickly give the vote of thanks while Tamami takes a group picture and share the certificate so we can move on to our next meeting?
I'm sorry.
Please.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Ken.
Yes. So we'll just have a quick vote of thanks. Thank you so much. Toastmaster Tamami will share the vote of thanks and we move to our next meeting. Thank you so much and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
So I think as the speech coordinator, let's say thank you to all who came. But before we end the session, I would like to invite, basically this is our last session of the 5th week of the Speechcraft. So with that, I would like to invite our Madam President from World Travelers Club to give a closing address to end and wrap up this Speechcraft. Over to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Zahari. Thank you, everyone, for joining our Speechcraft. We've learned so much from great keynote speakers. Great. I have to be more elaborative, but for the time constraint, I will leave it up to your imagination. We have all the recordings for 5 sessions. You're all welcome to listen to them all. They are very, very useful. Thank you, King, again, for your evaluation and great tips on evaluation. And I would love it even more if we had more time with you. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to start our meeting with BRICS in 1 minute. So please stay with us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.